Commander Alan Peterson stood on the bridge of the U.S. Discovery, his eyes fixed on the strange object that had appeared near Jupiter's orbit. It wasn't like anything he had seen before. The vessel glowed with a soft blue light and moved in ways that defied the laws of physics as humans understood them. "Sir, the object is slowing down," said Lieutenant Frank Miller, the ship's tactical officer. "It appears to be waiting." Peterson nodded, his heart racing. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally found proof they weren't alone. Or rather, proof had found them. "All systems remain at yellow alert. Let's not make any sudden moves," Peterson ordered. His voice was calm despite the tension in the air. Communications specialist Olivia Grant worked frantically at her station. Her fingers flew across the control panel as she tried every possible frequency and format to establish contact. "Commander, I'm picking up a transmission. It's structured data. I think they're trying to talk to us," Grant said, her voice filled with wonder. The bridge crew held their breath as Grant's computers processed the alien signal. Minutes passed like hours. Then, suddenly, words appeared on the main screen. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Syntheri. We come in peace and wish to speak." The crew exchanged looks of amazement. The aliens had learned English, or at least their computers had figured out how to translate. "Reply with our standard first contact message," Peterson ordered. "Tell them we also come in peace." Over the next few hours, the conversation continued. The Syntheri vessel moved closer, allowing the crew to see its intricate design. It was beautiful and clearly built by a civilization far more advanced than humanity. Ambassador Axelinar of the Syntheri requested a face-to-face meeting. After consulting with Earth governments, Peterson agreed to allow the alien aboard. When the airlock opened, the humans got their first look at an alien being. Sealnar stood 7 feet tall with bluish skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. The ambassador had 4 arms and large, intelligent eyes that studied the humans with equal curiosity. "We have observed your planet for some time," Zelnar said through a translation device. "Your species has progressed remarkably quickly. The Galactic Council wishes to formally meet with representatives of Earth." News of the invitation spread quickly. World leaders gathered at the United Nations to discuss this historic opportunity. After days of debate, they selected 3 representatives. Dr. Susan Moore, a brilliant xenobiologist, Captain Gregory Williams, a decorated military officer to serve as security advisor, and Ambassador Daniel Clark, Earth's most skilled diplomat. Dr. Moore spent every waking hour studying the limited data about the Syntheri and other alien species mentioned in their communications. She was particularly interested in their biology. "Their muscle density is significantly lower than ours," she told the others during a briefing. "We evolved on a planet with higher gravity than most spacefaring species. This might give us some advantages." Captain Williams focused on security concerns. "We'll be completely dependent on their technology for this journey. We need to remain alert and observe everything we can about their capabilities." Ambassador Clark, a man with 30 years of diplomatic experience, prepared for the most important negotiation of his life. "We must present humanity as both peaceful and strong. First impressions will shape our place in this galactic community." 2 weeks after first contact, the human delegation prepared to board the Syntheri vessel. Millions watched the live stream as they said goodbye to Earth. "We go as representatives of all humanity," Ambassador Clark told the cameras. "We carry with us the hopes and dreams of every person who has ever looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone." As they stepped aboard the alien ship, none of them knew that their journey would forever change humanity's place in the universe. The Galactic Council awaited, and they had no idea what was coming their way. The human delegation stepped aboard the Syntheri vessel, Stellar Harmony. Their eyes widened as they took in the vast interior, which seemed impossibly large compared to the ship's external appearance. Lieutenant Samantha Wright pulled out a small recording device and began documenting everything she saw. The walls glowed with a soft light that seemed to come from nowhere. The air smelled fresh, with a hint of something like cinnamon. The internal space uses dimensional folding technology, explained Ambassador Xelenar, noticing their amazement. Your quarters have been prepared according to human biological needs. As they walked through the ship, they passed other alien species. Some had multiple limbs, others moved like liquid across the floor. All stopped to stare at the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to what appeared to be concern. Dr. Susan Moore noticed something interesting. When she accidentally bumped into a tall, thin alien, it nearly fell over despite being twice her size. She helped steady the creature, surprised at how light it felt. "I'm so sorry," she said. The alien stepped back quickly. "Such strength," it whispered to its companion. In his quarters, Captain Gregory Williams tested the artificial gravity settings. He increased it to match Earth's pull and noticed the doorframe bend slightly under the pressure. "Computer, what is the standard gravity setting for most council species?" he asked. "Average council standard is 0.7 of Earth gravity," replied an automated voice. Williams made note of this. Most aliens were used to lighter conditions than humans. This could be important. Meanwhile, Ambassador Daniel Clark met with Xelenar to learn about Council protocols. The Galactic Council consists of representatives from 4,872 spacefaring civilizations, Xelenar explained. Species are grouped by technological advancement level. "Where will humans be placed?" Clark asked. Xelenar's skin color shifted slightly. "As a newly discovered species with limited space travel capabilities, you will be in the lowest tier. You will speak last in the proceedings." Clark understood the message. Humans were considered primitive by Council standards. "How many other species are in our tier?" he asked. "Currently 12. Most new species remain in this tier for several hundred years before advancing." Clark smiled politely, but made a mental note. Humans would need to exceed expectations. The journey to the Council would take 3 weeks. During this time, the human team worked to learn everything they could. Dr. Moore conducted subtle tests when interacting with various aliens. She discovered humans were physically stronger than nearly 90% of Council species. Even the large, intimidating ones often had surprisingly fragile bodies. Lieutenant Wright learned about their ship's capabilities by befriending a maintenance worker named Zix. The small, six-eyed alien was fascinated by human hair. "Your ship can travel between galaxies?" Wright asked casually. "Only the newest models," Zix replied. "This one is old, but still good between stars." Captain Williams spent hours in the ship's information center, studying military histories of various species. He noticed something interesting. Most advanced civilizations had evolved away from physical conflict. Wars were rare, and when they happened, they were usually fought with automated systems. "They've forgotten the value of a soldier's instinct," he told Clark privately. "Their defenses have weaknesses a human strategist would never allow." Ambassador Clark focused on understanding Council politics. He learned the Council was dominated by 7 ancient species collectively called the Founders. These species controlled most key positions and resources. As they neared the end of their journey, the humans gathered in Clark's quarters to share what they had learned. "We may be considered primitive," Clark said, "but I believe we have advantages they don't expect." Through the viewport, they could see their destination appearing in the distance, a massive structure floating in space, Nexus Prime, home of the Galactic Council. "Remember," Clark said, "we represent all of humanity. Our actions will determine Earth's future among the stars." None of them realized how prophetic those words would prove to be. The Stellar Harmony docked at Nexus Prime, and the human delegation got their first view of the Galactic Council headquarters. It was a massive space station that looked like a shining metal flower, with countless petals extending into space. Each petal was the size of a small city. "This is just one of 12 Council hubs," said Ambassador Xelenar. "This one serves the Orion arm of the galaxy." As they stepped off the ship, the humans were hit by the scale of what they were seeing. Thousands of different alien species moved through the vast arrival terminal. Ships of all sizes and shapes could be seen through the massive windows, coming and going in perfect order. "There must be millions of beings on this station," whispered Dr. Moore, trying to take in everything at once. A small green alien with 4 arms approached them. "Welcome to Nexus Prime. I am Nathan Harris, your assigned protocol officer." Clark raised an eyebrow. "You have a human name." The alien made a sound like soft bells. "We choose names familiar to new species to make them comfortable. My actual name would be unpronounceable to your kind." Harris led them through crowded walkways. Aliens of all shapes and sizes stopped to stare at the humans. Some pointed, others moved away quickly. "Why are they afraid of us?" asked Lieutenant Wright. "Many species are naturally cautious around unknowns," Harris said. "Your planet's location is also concerning to some." "What do you mean by that?" asked Captain Williams. Harris paused. "Earth is located in what we call the Forbidden Zone, a region of space most civilizations avoid." "Why is it forbidden?" Dr. Moore asked. "Ancient warnings, stories passed down for millions of years. Nothing concrete, just traditions." Harris changed the subject quickly. "Your quarters are in the new species district." Their living area was comfortable, but clearly isolated from the main parts of the station. Captain Williams noticed security drones positioned near all entrances. Soon after they settled in, a tall, reptilian alien arrived. It wore a uniform covered in glowing symbols. "I am Krelvex, Chief of Council Security," it hissed. "These are your identification badges. They will track your location at all times." Its yellow eyes narrowed. "You are not permitted in any areas marked with red symbols. Violation will result in immediate detention." After Krelvex left, Ambassador Clark gathered the team. "They're isolating us and watching our every move. This isn't just standard procedure." "Did you notice the security chief's reaction when I shook his hand?" asked Williams. "He was surprised by my grip strength." Dr. Moore nodded. "I've been reviewing the biological data we've gathered. Humans evolved on a planet with higher gravity, more radiation, and more environmental threats than most council species. We're physically stronger and more durable than average." Later that day, Dr. Moore convinced Harris to show her the station's biological archives. While searching through alien evolutionary records, she found something strange. "Harris, why is there so little information about species from our region of space?" The small alien looked uncomfortable. "As I mentioned, your region is considered problematic. Few explorers venture there." "But why? What are these ancient warnings about?" Harris lowered his voice. "The oldest species tell stories of powerful, dangerous beings that once dominated that region. Beings that were contained, not destroyed. The warnings say, 'Do not disturb what sleeps in the dark spaces.'" That night, the human team gathered to share what they had learned. "We're being treated like potential threats," said Clark, "but also like we might be useful. The council proceedings begin tomorrow," Wright reminded them. "We'll be formally introduced to the full assembly." Captain Williams looked out the window at the countless ships moving through space. "Whatever they think of us now, I have a feeling things are about to change." None of them slept well that night. Tomorrow would be humanity's first official step onto the galactic stage, and everything they had learned suggested it would not be a simple welcome. The council chamber was enormous, shaped like a giant bowl with thousands of seats rising in circles. Each seat had a small floating screen and translation device. At the bottom of the bowl stood a central platform where speakers would present. Ambassador Clark and the human team were seated in the highest ring, furthest from the center. This position clearly showed their low status. "Look at the 7 ornate sections near the bottom," whispered Clark. "Those must be for the founder species." The chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Some floated in bubbles of liquid, others were just clouds of gas. The variety was stunning. A bell-like sound rang out, and the proceedings began. A tall, elegant alien with shimmering skin took the central platform. "That's High Counselor Vadashen of the Eldar," Harris explained quietly. "The Eldar were the first spacefaring species in our records." Vadashen spoke in a musical language that was instantly translated through their devices. The council began by discussing resource allocations between star systems and settling territorial disputes. Captain Williams watched carefully. "Notice how the founders always vote as a bloc," he observed. "They control the outcomes." During a break, a small group of aliens approached the humans. They had rough, bark-like skin and moved with quick, nervous gestures. "We are the Trellix," one said. "Like you, we are considered primitive by council standards." "How long have you been part of the council?" asked Dr. Moore. 300 years, the Trellix replied. "And we are still in the lowest tier. Be careful what technology you share. The higher tiers will take your innovations and give little in return." Throughout the day, Ambassador Clark noticed patterns in how debates were structured. The founders would present an issue, allow limited discussion, then implement their predetermined solution. "It's not really a council," he told his team later. "It's a show of inclusion while the powerful maintain control." Meanwhile, engineer Paul Bennett, who had come as technical support, was given permission to visit the public technology archives. The security drones watched him closely as he browsed through basic engineering schematics. Bennett noticed something odd. "These designs are efficient, but not innovative," he told Williams when he returned. "It's like they've optimized existing technology rather than creating new approaches." During the second day of proceedings, the council discussed military responses to a group called the Drift Nomads, who were expanding into council space. Captain Williams paid close attention as various species presented their military capabilities. Most relied on automated drones and energy shields. Direct combat was rarely mentioned. "They've evolved beyond physical conflict," Williams realized. "Their bodies have become specialized for their environments, but they've lost the adaptability that comes from facing direct threats." As the humans watched and learned, they were also being observed. Council security cameras followed their movements. Scientists monitored their vital signs, and the founders held private discussions about the potential threat or opportunity these new beings represented. On the third day, a small incident revealed something important. When the station's gravity briefly fluctuated, most aliens grabbed support rails or activated personal stabilizers. The humans simply adjusted their stance and kept their balance. "Did you see that?" one council member whispered to another. They adapted instantly. By the end of the week, rumors about the humans had spread throughout the station. Some said they were unusually strong. Others claimed they had survived radiation levels that would kill most species. The humans became objects of curiosity and concern. "Tomorrow, the council begins its formal assessment of Earth," Harris informed them. "You will be expected to answer questions about your species, technology, and intentions." That night, Ambassador Clark gathered his team. "So far, we've been observers. Tomorrow, we become the observed. Every word we say will shape how they view humanity." "Should we downplay our capabilities?" asked Wright. Clark thought for a moment. "No, we must be honest but strategic. We need allies, not fear, but we also need respect." None of them realized that the council had already begun forming opinions that would lead to the most dramatic debate in recent galactic history. The day of humanity's assessment arrived. The council chamber was fuller than before, with many aliens present just to see the new species from the Forbidden Zone. High Counselor Vadashen opened the proceedings. "Today we evaluate the species known as humans and determine their status within galactic society." A large screen appeared, showing images of Earth. The room fell silent as a small, hovering alien floated forward. "I am Observer Zeltak," it said. "For 200 years, we have monitored Earth through hidden satellites. I will present our findings." The human delegation exchanged surprised glances. They had been watched for centuries without knowing. Zeltak showed images of human history: world wars, nuclear tests, Environmental damage. The room filled with murmurs of concern. Humans have spent most of their history fighting each other, Zeltak stated. They developed atomic weapons and nearly destroyed themselves. They are aggressive, territorial, and unpredictable. Ambassador Clark felt the mood in the room turn against them. He leaned toward Dr. Moore. This is going badly. Captain Williams studied the reactions of different species. Some showed fear, others disgust. The founders remained expressionless, watching carefully. After Zeltak finished, Vadashen spoke. This assessment raises serious concerns. A species with such violent tendencies may not be compatible with galactic peace. Clark stood to respond, but was surprised when another council member requested to speak first. I am Delegate Mira of the Ventari, said a small blue alien. Observer Zeltak has shown only part of the human story. Their monitoring stopped focusing on Earth's wars 100 years ago. Since then, humans have made great progress toward peace and cooperation. This unexpected support created a stir in the chamber. Clark was then permitted to speak. He walked to the central platform, aware that every word would shape humanity's future. Honored Council, we do not deny our violent past. We have made terrible mistakes, but we have also learned from them. Each generation has worked to create a more peaceful world. As he spoke, Dr. Diane Foster activated her presentation. The screen filled with human art, music, literature, and scientific achievements. Humans created all this despite their short lives, Foster explained. Most council species live for centuries. We live less than 1 century, yet look at what we have accomplished. The chamber grew divided. Some council members were impressed by human achievements, while others remained focused on the dangers. A reptilian delegate hissed. They developed space travel only recently, yet they already have military vessels. Why arm themselves if they are peaceful? Captain Williams stepped forward. The same ingenuity that helps us explore also helps us protect ourselves. We developed in isolation, not knowing if we would face friends or enemies among the stars. The debate grew heated. Species began talking over each other, some defending humans, others condemning them. High Counselor Vadashen called for order. The assessment has raised more questions than answers. I propose a series of tests to better understand human capabilities before making a final decision. Ambassador Clark felt uneasy. What kind of tests? Physical, intellectual, and ethical evaluations, Vadashen replied. This will help us determine if humans are a threat or potential allies. As the session ended, the council was clearly divided into factions. The humans had made both friends and enemies in a single day. On their way back to their quarters, Harris approached them. That went better than expected. Many primitive species are dismissed immediately. What happens next? Asked Dr. Moore. The physical evaluation is tomorrow, Harris said. One of you will be asked to demonstrate human capabilities. Captain Williams nodded. I'll do it. No, Harris said. The council has specifically requested Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez from your security team. Why her? Williams asked, surprised. They observed her training sessions in your quarters. Her physical abilities impressed them. Ambassador Clark looked concerned. We're being manipulated into a demonstration of our combat potential, which might be exactly what we need, Williams replied. Sometimes respect comes before friendship. That night, they prepared Rodriguez for what might be the most important physical contest in human history. Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez stood in the preparation room, stretching her muscles. She was of average height for a human woman, but her body was toned from years of military training. Captain Williams briefed her one last time. Remember, this isn't just about winning. It's about showing them who we are, Williams said. Rodriguez nodded. I understand, sir. The testing arena was a large circular space with adjustable gravity and terrain. Hundreds of council members watched from viewing areas above. Ambassador Clark and the human team sat in a special section, closely monitored by security drones. High Counselor Vadashen's voice echoed through the arena. This evaluation will assess the physical capabilities of humans in comparison to council species. 3 champions have volunteered to participate in what we call a friendly combat simulation. The word friendly made Clark nervous. He leaned toward Dr. Moore. They're testing how dangerous we are. 3 aliens entered the arena from different doors. The first was tall and muscular with 4 arms, each ending in clawed hands. The second moved like liquid metal, constantly shifting shape. The third was covered in thick armor plates with glowing energy weapons built into its limbs. These representatives come from species known for their combat abilities, Vadashin explained. The Krell are natural warriors. The Morphs can adapt to any attack. The Torgeth have integrated weapons technology. Rodriguez looked small and vulnerable compared to these alien champions. The rules are simple, continued Vadashin. Disable your opponents without causing permanent harm. The arena will change conditions randomly. Begin. The gravity suddenly increased. Rodriguez immediately adjusted her stance while the alien champion stumbled slightly. The Krell warrior recovered first and charged toward her. Rodriguez didn't retreat. She waited until the last moment, then used the Krell's momentum against it, redirecting its charge into the wall. The audience gasped at her speed and precision. The morph flowed across the floor, trying to surround Rodriguez's feet. She jumped high, using the increased gravity to land hard near the morph, disrupting its liquid form temporarily. She's using their strengths against them, Captain Williams said proudly. The terrain shifted, creating uneven ground. The Torgeth fired energy blasts at Rodriguez. She rolled behind cover, then threw a small object that exploded in bright light, temporarily disabling the Torgeth's visual sensors. What was that device? Demanded Kralvex, the security chief. A simple flash grenade, Williams explained. Non-lethal. For 15 minutes, Rodriguez demonstrated human agility, endurance, and tactical thinking. When the gravity suddenly decreased, she used it to leap high above the Krell, landing on its shoulders and applying pressure to specific nerve points. The alien collapsed, temporarily paralyzed. The morph tried to engulf her, but Rodriguez had noticed its aversion to heat. She used her body temperature and friction to make it retreat. The Torgeth, recovered from the flash, charged its weapons for a massive blast. Rodriguez didn't panic. She waited until the energy built to maximum, then threw a piece of reflective debris at precisely the right angle. The Torgeth's blast bounced back, overloading its systems. Within 20 minutes, all 3 champions were disabled. Rodriguez stood in the center, breathing hard but uninjured. The arena fell silent. Then whispers spread through the audience. She defeated all 3. How did she know their weaknesses so quickly? Imagine an army of humans. An elderly alien in elaborate robes approached the human delegation. I am the archivist. For millions of years, my order has preserved the oldest knowledge. Its voice trembled slightly. There are ancient warnings about species from Dith worlds, planets with high gravity, extreme climates, and dangerous predators. The archivist looked at Rodriguez, still standing in the arena. The warnings describe beings with exactly the adaptability and combat instincts this human has demonstrated. Dr. Moore leaned forward. Are you saying the ancient warnings were about humans? Perhaps, the archivist replied. Or perhaps about something humans evolved to survive among. Either possibility is concerning. As Rodriguez rejoined her team, the council chamber erupted in debate. Some called for immediate quarantine of Earth. Others argued that human abilities made them valuable potential allies. Ambassador Clark whispered to his team, "This demonstration has changed everything. For better or worse, they now see what humans are capable of." The day after Rodriguez's combat demonstration, the council chamber was packed for the scientific evaluation. Dr. Susan Moore and scientist Kevin Russell represented humanity for this test. High Counselor Vadashin addressed the assembly. Today we assess human scientific understanding and potential. A panel of alien scientists questioned the humans about Earth's technology. They seemed particularly interested in how quickly humans had progressed. Your species discovered electricity less than 300 years ago, yet you have already achieved limited space travel, said a founder scientist with multiple eye stalks. This rate of advancement is unusual. Dr. Moore displayed graphs comparing human progress to other species. Most council races took thousands of years to move from basic tools to space travel. We did it in a few centuries. This revelation caused concern among many council members. Rapid technological growth suggested humans might soon rival more advanced species. How do you explain this accelerated development? Asked the scientist. Russell answered, necessity and competition drove our innovation. Our short lifespans also create urgency. We don't have centuries to solve problems. While the questioning continued, engineer Paul Bennett had been invited to observe a technical repair on the station. A section of Nexus Prime's environmental system had malfunctioned, and council engineers struggled to fix it. Bennett studied the schematics briefly, then pointed to a connection they had overlooked. The issue isn't in the main system. It's in the communication between subsystems. The alien engineers were surprised by how quickly he identified the problem. More surprising was his suggestion for improvement. If you reconfigure these pathways, the system would be 30% more efficient and less likely to fail, Bennett explained, sketching a new design. One engineer tested his suggestion on a simulation. It works better than the original design. How did you see this solution so quickly? Bennett shrugged. Humans are good at finding new approaches to old problems. News of this incident reached the council chamber during a break. Ambassador Clark overheard council members discussing it. They think differently than we do, one alien whispered to another. They don't follow established patterns. Clark used this opportunity to approach Delegate Mura, who had defended humans previously. Would your delegation be interested in a knowledge exchange? We have unique perspectives that might benefit both our species. The conversation was interrupted when High Counselor Vadashen called for an emergency private meeting of the founder species. Their discussion was heated, with Vadashen arguing forcefully. When the full council reconvened, Vadashen made a shocking announcement. The founders propose an immediate quarantine of Earth and limited contact with humans until we better understand the risks they present. Ambassador Clark demanded the right to respond. What risks? We have cooperated with all your tests. We have shown our capabilities honestly. That is precisely the concern, Vadashen replied. Your physical abilities, rapid advancement, and adaptive thinking make you unpredictable. The stability of galactic society requires predictability. Delegate Mura and representatives from several other species protested this decision. These were mainly younger species who held lower positions in the council hierarchy. The humans could help us solve problems that have stumped us for centuries, argued a scientist from the Ventari delegation. The division in the council became clear. The established powers feared human potential, while the less powerful species saw humans as possible allies against the founders' control. Dr. Moore leaned toward Clark. They're afraid we'll disrupt their power structure. Clark nodded. And some are hoping we will. As the debate grew more intense, Rodriguez noticed security drones moving into position around the human delegation. She quietly alerted Captain Williams. They're preparing to enforce the quarantine decision if it passes, Williams whispered to Clark. Ambassador Clark realized they had one last chance to change the council's mind. I request the right to make a final statement before the vote, he announced. Vadashen reluctantly agreed. You may address the council one last time tomorrow. That night, the human team worked together on what might be the most important speech in human history. Earth's future among the stars hung in the balance. The final day of debate arrived. The council chamber was completely full, with some species even sharing seats. News of the human question had spread throughout Nexus Prime. Ambassador Daniel Clark stood on the central platform, facing thousands of alien eyes. The security drones hovered nearby, ready to act if the vote went against humanity. Honored council members, Clark began. I understand your fears. Throughout our history, Humans have often feared what we don't understand. But fear should inform caution, not determine our actions. He gestured to his team. You've tested our strength, our minds, and our technology. Yes, we are different from most council species. We evolved on a world that challenged us daily. We had to adapt quickly or perish. High Counselor Vadashin interrupted. That is precisely our concern. Your adaptability makes you unpredictable. Unpredictable, yes, Clark acknowledged. But is that truly a weakness? The galaxy is vast and full of unknown threats. Different perspectives offered different solutions. As Clark spoke, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. The main lights flickered and emergency systems activated. Station core breach in Sector 7, announced an automated voice. Gravitational stabilizers failing. The council erupted in panic. Many species began rushing toward exits, while others froze in fear. Remain calm, Vadashin ordered, but few listened. Captain Williams checked his data pad. Sector 7 is directly below us. If the gravity fails, the floor shuddered. Several council members were thrown from their seats as the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Security drones crashed into walls, their systems confused by the changing conditions. Sergeant Rodriguez sprang into action. She spotted a founder member, one who had argued strongly for Earth's quarantine, sliding toward a structural gap that had opened in the floor. Without hesitation, she leaped across the chamber, grabbing the alien moments before it would have fallen to certain death. Meanwhile, Engineer Bennett and Dr. Moore rushed to a control panel. The backup systems are trying to compensate but making it worse, Bennett shouted over the alarms. Dr. Moore nodded. We need to shut down the automatic response and stabilize manually. Working together, they bypassed the station's safety protocols and took direct control of the gravity systems. Bennett's understanding of the station, gained from his earlier repair work, proved crucial. Within minutes, they had stabilized the chamber. The alarms quieted. Council members looked around in shock, many still clinging to their seats. Rodriguez helped the founder member to safety. The alien, usually so composed, trembled slightly. You saved me, it said, sounding surprised. Why? Because that's what humans do, Rodriguez replied simply. High Counselor Vadashin approached the human team. You stabilized the chamber when our own systems failed. And you, he turned to Rodriguez, risked yourself for someone who argued against your species. Ambassador Clark saw their opportunity. This is humanity, Counselor. We adapt, we solve problems, and we help others, even those who fear us. The archivist stepped forward, ancient data tablets in hand. I have reviewed our oldest records more carefully. The warnings about the Forbidden Zone were not about its inhabitants being dangerous to us. The chamber fell silent as the archivist continued. The warnings were about protecting those inhabitants, specifically beings with great adaptive potential, from something else, something that was contained in that region long ago. Dr. Moore's eyes widened. You're saying Earth was placed in a quarantine zone to protect us, to allow you to develop, the archivist confirmed. The ancient texts speak of a coming darkness that would require beings of unusual strength and adaptability to combat. Beings exactly like humans. The Council voted that day, narrowly approving provisional alliance status for Earth. The founders remained cautious, but even they could not deny the value of human adaptability after witnessing it firsthand. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with news of humanity's new place in the galaxy, Ambassador Clark gathered his team. We came here as strangers, he said. We return as something they never expected. What's that? Asked Lieutenant Wright. Clark smiled. Potential saviors of the galaxy.